Thanks for joining us today at Take 5. In this series of teachings, we're talking about strengthening grace. We're looking at from the life of Paul, his revelation of strengthening grace, his experience of strengthening grace, his prayers concerning strengthening grace, and then his exhortations about grace. So we're kind of making our way along, and we're here in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 looking at Paul's revelation of grace. We've been talking about how he had this test, this trial, this messenger of Satan. He prayed about that. He asked the Lord to change his situation. The Lord did not change his situation, but gave him a revelation. Sometimes a revelation is really what we need. It could produce a revolution. And so Jesus said to Paul in his situation, "My grace is enough for you, for my strength is manifests itself, is made perfect in your weakness." In other words, when you are weak in your own human strength and you've exhausted your own strength, my grace can come in and make the difference, fortifying you, strengthening you, infusing you with the help, with the might, with the power that you need to deal with the things you need to deal with. So that revelation was given to Paul in the middle of his bad situation. Now, Paul had a fantastic response to Jesus' revelation. Jesus said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." Paul said, "Most gladly, therefore." Whenever you find a therefore, find out what it's there for. What's the therefore? Well, it's looking back to the revelation. We could read it this way. This is the second half of 2 Corinthians 12:9. "Most gladly, now that I have this revelation of strengthening grace, most gladly, I'm going to glory in my infirmities." Well, what a funny thing to say, because just before that, Paul had been crying out for a change, saying, "Lord, I'm weak. Lord, I can't do this. Lord, this messenger of Satan, please make it leave me, Lord. Move this out of my life. Change my situation. I'm not going to make it. I can't do it. I need you to change my situation." And then Jesus says, "My grace is enough." And Paul goes, "Woo! I rejoice in my weakness." It's like, is Paul schizophrenic? I mean, he has gone like from north to south and like that. So is he crazy? No. Well, then what changed? Nothing changed except that Paul got a revelation of a divine commodity, of a divine provision called strengthening grace that would enable him to deal with his situation. So he says, "Most gladly, therefore, I will glory in my infirmities." Why? Because he knows when he's in a situation that makes clear his weakness, it's just an opportunity to be supercharged, to be infused with the power of Christ. So he says this, "Most gladly, therefore, I will glory in my infirmities, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." 2 times in this little passage, we get a good definition of what grace is. Jesus said, "My grace, my strength, my dunamis." Grace is strength, grace is dunamis. And here, speaking about this grace that will be ministered to him, Paul speaks of it as the power. It's also dunamis. Now, in the King James, it's translated strength when Jesus said it. It's translated power when Paul said it. But it's both dunamis. So he's really just kind of expressing what Jesus revealed to him. He said, "Ooh, man, I'm going to glory. I'm happy. This is great. Wow, I didn't know about this kind of an opportunity to be supercharged, to be empowered with the very strength of the Lord in my tests and trials. So I'm kind of happy now. I'm looking forward to experiencing the power of His grace and then experiencing the prevailing life. I will glory in my infirmities, so that the power of Christ." Jesus said, "My grace." Paul said, "The power of Christ." What is it for? It is to empower us, strengthen us, supercharge us to deal with the things that cannot be changed. Thanks for joining us today on Take 5.